What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today, guys, I'm super excited because I get to dive into one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. I have got the 4K edition of Child's Play from Scream Factory. This is an upcoming release. I actually got my purchase 10 days early. These will be coming out on August the 16th. I will leave all the links for purchase down below in the description, but I'm excited to get into this one. We are going to be talking about Child's Play, but I do have a first look unboxing of all three of the films that came out in 4K from Scream Factory. You can go check it out. I'll try to link it up there somewhere, but I just do a deep dive, just this tour of all of these and unboxing. I show off all the alternate artwork for the sequels, so go check out that video. But today specifically, we're going to be diving into the first Child's Play, talking about the movie, talking about the transfer, the audio, the special features. Scream Factory really went all out here with the special features on this, so we got a lot to get to. But before we get started, guys, I have to ask, if you're not yet a subscriber to the Mid-Level Media channel, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button. Do you like Blu-rays, 4Ks, physical media, owning the movies that you love, all this stuff here behind me? If the answer to all those questions is yes, then definitely hit that subscribe button. I do videos on this channel discussing physical media every single day, and you would definitely enjoy it. Also, be sure to like this video and comment down below, guys, what's your thoughts on the first Child's Play movie? Did you see it when you were a kid like I did? Do you love it like I do? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know if you plan on purchasing this or you already have them in the mail like I do. You got them in early like me. Let me know all that in the comment section below, and then turn on those bell notifications for all future videos. So let's get started with this. Again, we're going to talk about the movie. This movie is directed by Tom Holland, came out in 1988, and written by Don Mancini. Also, John Lafayette and Tom Holland assisted on this script as well. Actors include Catherine Hicks, Chris Sarandon, Alex Vincent, and Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky, as a single mother gives her son a much sought after doll for his birthday, only to discover that it is possessed by the soul of a serial killer. So if you are not familiar with this franchise at all, which I have no idea how you wouldn't be, it's such an iconic, like Chucky is legitimately not just a horror icon, but just an icon of pop culture at this point. If you're not familiar with this at all, again, I just gave you that brief synopsis right there. It's a killer doll movie. A doll comes to life and he wreaks havoc. But to me, this movie is really so much more than that. And every single time I go back and rewatch it, like I always say, I love part 2, I love part 3. And I often talk about those as being my favorite, but I often forget just how good this movie is until I go back and rewatch it. I think that this is an incredibly underrated horror film. Like, I don't feel like people give this one the respect it deserves. And honestly, I think it's because the Child's Play franchise, Chucky as a name and as a brand, has kind of just gone into such ridiculous territory, especially with stuff like Seed of Chucky and Cult of Chucky. The most recent Chucky show, which I do enjoy, but still it's kind of in the ridiculous category. Chucky's not really scary anymore. He's not scary like he was back in the 80s and the early 90s anymore. So I just think that the brand, I don't want to say it's been ruined, but it's definitely been tarnished as far as its legacy in horror. But if you go back and you watch this film and you erase all that stuff from your mind, you just get it out of your head, all the ridiculousness that we've been subjected to by Don Mancini over the years, just where he's taken this character, which again, I like parts of what he's done and I don't like other parts. The Seed of Chucky is especially the part that I don't like. But if you just go back to the beginning and appreciate this film for what it is, it's really a fantastic horror movie. Tom Holland did a great job with this one. And again, Don Mancini came up with the story, but what Tom Holland did and John Lafayette when they came in and kind of did the rewrites and just some of the tweaks that they did with the script to make stuff just make a little bit more sense. I think overall, just the collaboration between all of them and bringing this script together and this story and just bringing this idea to life, it really just worked to bring us one of the best, greatest, most original horror stories of all time. So yeah, I think that this movie is super underrated and just the legacy of horror itself. I'm not saying this movie's an Exorcist. I'm not saying it's a Shining, but I feel like it's up there with like a Nightmare on Elm Street, with a Friday the 13th, but I just think for some reason people don't give the original Child's Play the respect it deserves, and it's such a fantastic movie. There's such great suspense like leading up to this, because if you don't remember, if you haven't seen this movie for a long time, you don't really get the reveal of the doll being alive, of Chucky being alive, till about halfway through the movie. There's stuff that happens, but it's never really made clear leading up to that halfway point if it's the doll that's doing the killings or if it's the kid that's doing the killings. Of course, everybody knew it because of the advertising and stuff. And Don Mancini actually wrote this script to make it a little bit more ambiguous. The fact that you don't really know who's doing the killing at first. It could be Andy, it could be the doll. He's making up the story of the doll being alive, but then the doll actually does end up being alive. That was supposed to be kind of a surprise in the middle of the script, but of course, the studio, like you're gonna make a horror film, it's like you have to advertise it somehow. And so they use Chucky front and center. It's a killer doll movie. That's what it is. So that drew everybody into the theater. So that kind of mystery aspect of it was a little bit ruined by the advertising. But if you just watch it, like if you had no idea like who Chucky is or anything like that, if you were living under the rock past 30 years and you watch this movie, you could see it from both ways. Maybe the kid's killing people, maybe it's the doll. But until that 45-minute mark where Chucky reveals himself, and one of the greatest, I'll go ahead and say it right now, it's up there with the shower scene from Psycho. It's up there with anything from the original Halloween movie. Like just one of the greatest horror moments of all time when she looks at the back of the doll and it reveals that there's no batteries. That is one of my favorite scenes of all time. She holds him up to the fire and he comes to life and he just goes nuts on her. I love that scene so much. I think it's perfect at the way that they layer this and they structure everything just leading up to that moment. There's just a ton of mystery and suspense, and I love it. I love everything, and I just think it's super underrated. People don't appreciate this movie for what it is and what it accomplishes. There's some great kills in this movie as well. It does not skimp on the carnage. I always remember the girl flying out the window. I remember that kill, but I forget about some of the other kills that were in this until I go back and rewatch it. I was like, there's really a lot of pretty gnarly kills in this movie, what Chucky does to some of these people. In particular, that voodoo doll sequence is pretty damn good as well. And Chucky, guys, I cannot overemphasize this enough. He's been made into a joke over the past few years. He is legitimately scary in this film. There's no real humor in this at all. Like Chucky's kind of known for his one-liners and his humor. There's not a lot of that humor here except for one scene. And when they realized that, when they got a reaction out of this scene by the cast and crew and the audience, they were like, we might be onto something here. This might be where we need to develop Chucky's personality. And it's the scene in the elevator where the older lady says ugly doll and he goes, fuck you, as he's going up there. And the way Brad Dourif delivers that line is so perfect. There is nobody else that could play the voice of Chucky. Like it's so perfect what Brad Dourif does with his voice work. I just love it so much. Some great practical animatronic effects in this movie as well. Like it takes a lot from the original Terminator in my opinion, but honestly it does a little bit better. Like it just feels a little bit more realistic. But if you go back and watch the original Terminator, like what happens at the end of Child's Play and what happens at the end of the first Terminator movie is really quite similar. Just how they can't kill him. Like they keep trying to kill him and he keeps coming back even to the end. He's like crawling towards them and they've shot him, shot his head off, shot his legs off and everything. He's still crawling. Very reminiscent of the first Terminator. They don't really talk about it, but I wonder if Tom Holland and Don Mancini kind of took inspiration from that film and the ending of this one. But the animatronic effects of the doll, and they don't use all animatronics, like they also use real people in the doll suit as well. I think the same guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the same guy that played Howard the Duck also played Chucky as well in this, and I think he played him in the scene where he gets lit on fire and he's like twisting around and stuff. I love this movie. I think it's super underrated as a horror film. I don't feel like people give this movie the respect it deserves because of all the later sequels and because Chucky's been kind of a joke as of lately. But I think that if you go back and you remove all that stuff from your head and you just watch this film on its own merits, you will appreciate it as a legitimate horror classic that it is. Do I like some of the sequels better? Yes, I do. But if you go back and watch this one, I honestly don't think it gets better than the first Child's Play and what they do with this movie. So I got to give this a 4.5 out of 5. It's just outside of masterpiece for me. I love this film. I think it's super awesome and great. Now getting into the 4K transfer itself on this release, I think Scream Factory did a phenomenal job with this one. It is a very sharp, incredibly detailed 4K transfer, and the picture quality is really top notch and definitely the best that this film has ever looked. And I've been watching this movie I've got the DVD, but like I said, I had this pre-recorded on a VHS tape when I was a kid, but I had this DVD. I think this is from like 1999. I also got the Blu-ray release. I never bought the Shout Scream Factory version of this one. Now, the visuals in this movie are not as standout as some of the later sequels. Like, you're thinking about some of the sequences in part 2 and part 3, and it's like my mouth is watering thinking about those 4K transfers. I have not watched those yet. So this was never going to be the most jaw-dropping 4K transfer of the series. I imagine we're going to get much more in depth in some of the sequences in the later sequels. But I think as far as just the picture quality and the clarity, I think that this is honestly a really great, really solid 4K transfer. It just doesn't have as many opportunities to shine as I imagine the later sequels are going to. That being said, there are some nice, colorful sequences that stand out. The toy store in the opening, like there's tons of like neon lights and like colorful board games on the wall. Just the look of the Good Guy box itself, just all of them stacked up. Just the colors, the whole sequence where Brad Dourif is doing the kind of voodoo magic on the doll in the very beginning, that looks phenomenal. Definitely the best of it. Honestly, it's so mind-blowing when I think about going back and watching that old VHS tape, pre-recorded VHS tape that I had, and all the lines and squiggles throughout, and just how I watched that back in the day, and just thinking about watching this now with such great picture quality and clarity. I never would have dreamed when I was a kid I would get to watch this movie in the way I do now. So it's honestly just really incredible. And another thing you got to give it credit for is, and this is just a testament to the incredible effects work, but the 4K transfer doesn't take away from the effects work at all. I just think the effects work and some of the stuff they did, it just really holds up. Like, you cannot tell, it all feels super realistic. Like, it doesn't take you out of it at all. It all feels very real. So they did a phenomenal job with the animatronics and the effects work in this, because it's in 4K and you can see everything, but it all still feels real. So I think they did a great job of the effects work here. Now, the Blu-ray here is a 4K scan, so the colors are more vibrant and saturated on that Blu-ray. But when you pop in that 4K, you can definitely see that there's just much more clarity as far as just the overall picture quality, especially in that facial detail. And the deeper blacks from that HDR really add to that picture quality and depth for sure. It just feels like it has a lot more weight to it as an actual film when you're watching in 4K. But the Blu-ray, the 4K scan on the Blu-ray is definitely more colorful. Now, getting into the audio, it does have Dolby Atmos, a 7.1 and a 5.1 setup. So I do not have any of those setups. I'm just listening to this on a soundbar. Everything sounded crystal clear and pretty great to me. Let's dive into the special features, because Scream Factory did not skimp on the special features. Now, you had a lot of special features on the previous Shout Factory Scream Factory release of Child's Play, and all those are present here. They put all of those special features on disc 3, and I'll do a little package unboxing as well as it is. Again, I've done all this on a previous video, the unboxing video. But on disc 3 here, you have all the Blu-ray special features from the previous releases. Now, it has stuff from the previous Blu-ray release back in 2015, as well as it has all the previous Scream Factory special features and all that stuff as well, including the Tom Holland commentary, which was added to the original 2016 Scream Factory Blu-ray release of Child's Play. So that is a relatively new commentary by the director, Tom Holland, and then it has all those featurettes and interviews from the previous Scream Factory, Shout Factory release. Now, where I'll give Scream Factory just so much credit with this is, with a lot of their 4K releases, when they re-release them, they'll just port over the exact same special features from the previous release. But what this does, what they did with this, really makes it worth the upgrade and really adds to that incentive to purchase this particular Shout Factory Scream Factory release, because there are 5 new interviews with the cast and crew on this release. Again, brand new interviews recorded in 2021. Now, a lot of them are like over Zoom and stuff, so they're not the best quality, but they are brand new special features that they recorded just for this particular release. And again, like they've shown in the past, they did not have to do that. Like, they would have probably sold still a ton. But again, for you guys that are on the fence, or you're like, I don't think the first Child's Play is going to look all that much better in 4K. I'm telling you right now, it does. It looks excellent. But another incentive here is all these excellent new special features. You have a new interview with Don Mancini. You have a new interview with David Kirshner. You have a new interview with the production manager, Robert Latham Brown, actors Chris Sarandon and Alex Vincent, which those two gave great interviews. So these are some phenomenal interviews. And like I said, you get previous audio commentaries from the DVD and Blu-rays. You get audio commentary with Tom Holland. You get audio commentary with Alex Vincent, Catherine Hicks, and Kevin Yeager. Audio commentary with David Kirshner Kirshner and Don Mancini. So there are 3 new audio commentaries in this particular release alone. So you get that previous commentary from the other releases, which I don't think that any commentaries came out on the DVD, but they started those with this particular Blu-ray release in 2015. But just tons of great stuff. Now, the one thing I'll note here is in these interviews in particular, and I think this is a new development. I think they just felt a little bit more comfortable just coming out with some of the stuff, some of the behind the scenes stuff, but they really bash on Tom Holland in these interviews. Like, it's crazy, especially David Kirshner, who just goes all in with these wild ass stories about Tom Holland throwing cups of coffee at him on set and all this kind of stuff, just talking about how he was very difficult to work with. So that's kind of interesting because Tom Holland came back to do that commentary in the 2016 version. If you go back and look at some of those interviews in the 2016 version of the Scream Factory release, they're not talking about Tom Holland at all. They're very positive about the writing process and everything. But in this one, it feels like they got the reins let off of them a little bit and they kind of just opened up. Like Don Mancini as well talked about Tom Holland, just how difficult he was to work with and how he wanted to change everything in his script, which honestly was probably for the best in some cases. But David Kirshner goes into some interesting stories talking about how he wanted to change some stuff that Tom Holland did, and then Tom Holland would always get pissed at him, and he was talking about him behind his back. And so just a lot of like drama from on the set in these interviews. And Alex Vincent, like, nobody else has really talked bad about Tom Holland. You got to Chris Sarandon and him were buddies, so he's not going to talk bad about him. But Alex Vincent was really going into how he was a kid and how he would just kind of, how he remembered Tom Holland. He was very mean and grumpy on set all the time. And they would kind of rush him out of the room whenever Tom Holland would go on one of his tirades. So I thought all of that stuff was incredibly interesting and fascinating. So these are some really great special features that really dive into some of the behind the scenes drama that was involved in these. So just some great special features. I'm trying to think if I have anything else I'm going to talk about, but yeah, this is a 3-disc set right here. You have the 4K, you have the Blu-ray 4K scan on the Blu-ray with all the special features, and you have another disc with special features from previous Blu-ray releases and from the previous Scream Factory Blu-ray release of Child's Play. And the only gripe I'll have with this one is they should have used this original poster artwork for the actual 4K case itself. I don't know why they just went with their old Scream Factory artwork. It makes no sense. It's great artwork. I mean, the artist, Justin Osborne, did a great job on this artwork, but this is just classic, and this is what you should have used. It would have matched the other ones as well. But it does have reversible cover arts. It is the only one of the 4Ks that has a reversible cover art. So there you have it, guys. I feel like I talked about this movie forever. So like I said, there's a lot to dive into with each one of these. I love these movies. Now, I will be reviewing Child's Play 2 and Child's Play 3 very soon, which are 2 of my favorite horror sequels. I love these movies so much, so I'm going to continue to bring the passion with the Child's Play franchise, but I have to recommend this. This is a great 4K transfer. It's a great movie. The special features, like, they don't do that on everything. Like, their studios are upgrading stuff left and right and providing you with nothing extra. This provides you with an hour extra of special features and bonus material, interviews, and great interviews, to be honest. So I have to say this is very worth it. Definitely pick this up, $29.99, and the Scream Factory did an excellent job with this release for sure. So don't sleep on Child's Play on 4K. Definitely pick it up. I'll link it down below. But appreciate you guys so much for checking out this video. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below your thoughts on Child's Play and this 4K release. Turn on those bell notifications for all future videos and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are in the description, and we'll see you next time.